The quantum sensors aboard Europa Base registered the anomaly at precisely 3:47 Earth Standard Time. Commander Elena Torres stood before the holographic display, her weathered features illuminated by the pulsing red warning indicators. The energy signatures were unlike anything their systems had encountered before, a void in space where something massive was moving. "Dr. Chen, what am I looking at?" Elena's voice remained steady, masking her growing concern. The base's chief scientist manipulated the holographic controls, his fingers dancing through the ethereal display as he expanded the sensor readings. "Something's trying very hard not to be seen, Commander." Kai Chen's usually animated face had grown serious. These energy patterns suggest a level of technological advancement well beyond anything humanity has publicly demonstrated. Elena caught his careful choice of words. As one of the few people cleared to know about Earth's classified technological achievements, she understood the implications. If these readings indicated technology beyond even their hidden capabilities, they were dealing with something unprecedented. The massive research facility, buried deep beneath Europa's icy surface, housed over 5,000 of humanity's brightest minds. While the public knew it as a scientific outpost studying Jupiter's moon, Europa Base served as humanity's most advanced early warning system and research center. Multiple new signatures detected, the AI announced, its synthetic voice somehow conveying urgency, energy patterns consistent with deceleration from FTL travel. Estimated count: 712 vessels. Elena's blood ran cold. An alien fleet of that size could only mean one thing: invasion. "Send priority black to Earth Command," she ordered. "Initiate protocol watchfire." Throughout the base, hidden systems began to power up. Quantum computers that had laid dormant for years activated, beginning to process the incoming sensor data. Deep beneath the ice, experimental weapon systems designed by Dr. Chen's team hummed to life. "Commander," Kai's voice cracked slightly. "They're transmitting." The holographic display shifted, revealing a figure that seemed to defy natural evolution. The alien's form was both beautiful and terrifying. Crystalline structures that might have been armor or might have been flesh wrapped around a vaguely humanoid shape. When it spoke, its words arrived directly in their minds, bypassing the need for conventional translation. "People of Earth, we are the Nexus. Your existence has been monitored since your species first stumbled into space. We have watched your primitive attempts at colonization, your crude exploitation of your solar system's resources, your childish dreams of joining the galactic community." Elena's jaw tightened as the alien continued, its telepathic voice dripping with contempt. "You are unworthy of controlling your own destiny. Your species lacks the wisdom to properly shepherd your world's resources. Your technological development has been deemed insufficient. You will surrender your planets, your resources, and your autonomy to the Nexus. Resistance will result in your extinction." The transmission cut off, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Elena turned to Kai, seeing her own anger reflected in his eyes. "They think we're primitive," she said softly. "They have no idea what humanity is capable of." "The stealth systems are holding," Kai reported, checking the base's status. "They don't appear to have detected us beneath the ice. Europa Base remains dark." Elena nodded, a grim smile forming on her face. "Good. Let them think Mars and the asteroid belt represent the extent of our space presence. How long until the quantum burst reaches Earth?" 3 minutes. The quantum entanglement network is operating at full capacity. Kai paused, studying a new set of readings. "Elena, these energy signatures. Their weapons technology appears to operate on principles we've only theorized about. They're capable of manipulating fundamental forces at a quantum level. Can we defend against it? Their technology is advanced, but not incomprehensible. Give my team a few hours to analyze the data, and we'll have countermeasures ready." The commander straightened, her decision made. "We don't have hours. That fleet is going to make an example of someone soon. Begin evacuating all non-essential personnel to the deep shelters. upload everything we have on their ships to the quantum network. And Kai, she met his gaze. Wake up, Project Prometheus. The scientist's eyes widened. Commander, Prometheus is still experimental. We haven't completed the final safety protocols. Those ships up there aren't going to wait for safety protocols. Alina cut him off. Humanity has spent the last 50 years preparing for this moment, hiding our true capabilities, building weapons we hoped we'd never have to use. Now we find out we weren't paranoid enough. Around them, Europa base transformed. Walls shifted as hidden equipment emerged from concealment. The harmless research facility revealed its true nature, humanity's most advanced military installation. Send word to the Mars Defense Force, Alina ordered. Tell them to maintain their facade of primitive technology. Let the Nexus think they're attacking a vulnerable colony. When they commit to their first strike, her smile turned predatory. That's when they'll learn what happens when you underestimate humanity. The alien fleet moved into attack position, their crystalline ships forming patterns that seemed to bend space itself. They had encountered countless species before, all following the same pattern of development, all easily subjugated or eliminated. None had ever surprised them. Humanity was about to change that. Deep beneath Europa's ice, Commander Torres watched the fleet's movement and thought of Earth's history. How many empires had fallen because they believed their technological superiority made them invincible? How many conquerors had underestimated the determination and ingenuity of those they sought to subjugate? The Nexus was about to learn a costly lesson. Humanity had not survived and thrived for hundreds of thousands of years by being weak. They had not reached for the stars without preparing for what they might find there. When the first Nexus ships began their attack run on Mars, humanity would reveal its true face. The price of the aliens' arrogance would be paid in full, and the galaxy would learn why you should never corner a species that had spent its entire existence overcoming challenges that should have destroyed it. The game of deception was about to end. The real war was about to begin. Mars glowed red against the void of space, its surface dotted with what appeared to be primitive human colonies, pressurized domes, and basic infrastructure that suggested a species still struggling to master planetary colonization. The Nexus fleet commanders observed these structures with disdain as they positioned their ships for the initial strike. These humans cluster their population in such vulnerable configurations. First Strike Leader Vexthor communicated to the fleet. Their defensive capabilities appear limited to basic kinetic weapons and primitive energy shields. This will serve as an efficient demonstration of the price of defiance. The first wave of Nexus ships descended toward the largest colony, their weapons charging with quantum energy. What their scans failed to detect was the vast network of facilities hidden beneath the Martian surface, or the sophisticated sensor arrays tracking their every move. In her command center beneath Olympus Mons, Colonel Diana Wright allowed herself a small smile. They're following the exact attack pattern we predicted. Arrogant bastards didn't even bother to scan below the surface. The Nexus ships opened fire, their quantum beams lancing toward the seemingly defenseless colony. Seconds before impact, the primitive structures shimmed and vanished, sophisticated holograms dissipating to reveal automated decoy facilities. Now, Wright ordered. The surface of Mars erupted. Hidden silos opened across the planet's surface, revealing rows of advanced missile batteries. But these weren't conventional weapons. Each missile contained swarms of microscopic quantum-entangled drones, technology that humanity had kept hidden for decades. The Nexus fleet reacted with shocking speed, their ships executing maneuvers that should have been impossible. But they were reacting to an attack pattern they could predict, and humanity had spent years preparing for this moment. Second wave, execute pattern Sierra, Wright commanded. Across Mars, automated defense systems activated. The surface of the planet seemed to ripple as thousands of quantum displacement fields activated simultaneously, confusing the Nexus targeting systems. On Europa base, Commander Torres and Dr. Chen watched the battle unfold through their quantum-linked displays. They're adapting quickly, Kai noted, his fingers flying over the holographic controls. But their tactical responses are predictable, almost like they've never faced an opponent who could actually fight back. Alina finished. Upload the Mark VII combat algorithms to the Mars defense grid. Let's show them something they've never seen before. The battle above Mars transformed. Human defense systems began executing impossible maneuvers, changing tactics faster than any organic mind could process. The Nexus fleet's formation started to break apart as their carefully planned attack encountered scenarios their tactical computers had never been programmed to handle. Energy spike detected in the enemy fleet, Mars Defense Control reported. They're bringing their primary weapons online. Colonel Wright's expression hardened. They're about to learn why you don't punch someone who's been preparing for a fight their whole life. Execute Protocol Prometheus. Beneath the surface of Phobos, Mars's largest moon, something awakened. The entire moon seemed to shudder as vast machines, hidden for decades, powered up. The Nexus fleet's sensors detected the energy surge too late. A massive quantum field erupted from Phobos, enveloping the nearest Nexus ships. Their crystalline hulls, previously impervious to conventional weapons, began to resonate at a frequency that human scientists had spent years calculating. The ships didn't explode. They simply came apart, their molecular bonds disrupted by precise quantum interference. By the eternal void, First Strike Leader Vexthor broadcast across the Nexus command channel. Their technology. This is impossible. They were supposed to be primitives. The remaining Nexus ships began to retreat, their formation in chaos. But humanity wasn't finished. From the asteroid belt, previously hidden human ships emerged, their designs unlike anything the Nexus had encountered. These weren't the crude vessels humans had publicly displayed. They were the product of 50 years of secret development, incorporating technology that humanity had carefully kept hidden from prying eyes. You came to our home. Colonel Wright's voice transmitted across all frequencies. You threatened our people. You assumed we were primitive because we chose not to reveal our true capabilities. That was your first mistake. The human fleet engaged, their weapon systems operating on principles that the Nexus had believed were beyond humanity's understanding. Ships that could phase through solid matter, weapons that could target specific molecular bonds, defense systems that could predict and counter attacks before they were launched. In the Europa Base Command Center, Commander Torres received the preliminary battle reports. 47 enemy ships destroyed, 32 disabled, the rest in retreat. No casualties on our side. The Mars defense grid performed exactly as designed. Dr. Chen studied the sensor data from the battle, his expression troubled. They'll be back. And next time, they'll be better prepared. Good, Alina replied. Because so will we. Signal Earth Command. Tell them it's time to activate the orbital defense grid. And Kai, she turned to her chief scientist. How close are we to completing the quantum tunneling device? The prototype is ready, but Alina, using it would be an escalation. Once we demonstrate that capability, there's no going back. They came here to subjugate us, Kai. They didn't come looking for a fair fight. They came expecting to find helpless primitives they could easily conquer. Instead, they found humanity. She straightened, her voice firm. Begin final preparations for Project Phoenix. When they return, we'll show them why you should never underestimate a species that turned its entire history of warfare into a masterclass in innovation. As the remaining Nexus ships fled the solar system, they transmitted vast quantities of data back to their empire. But they were already too late. Humanity had spent generations preparing for this moment, and the real war was just beginning. Deep within Europa Base's quantum research chamber, Dr. Kai Chen stared at the swirling mass of silver particles suspended in the containment field. Each microscopic mote contained billions of self-replicating nanomachines, the culmination of decades of secret research. Project Phoenix, humanity's ultimate weapon and potentially its greatest moral challenge. The swarm's quantum entanglement matrix is stable, reported Dr. Sarah Webb, his lead researcher. Neural architecture is evolving within expected parameters. They're learning, adapting, becoming more sophisticated with each generation. Kai watched the nanites form complex patterns in response to simulated threats and the ethical constraints. Holding firm. The core programming remains unchanged. No targeting of civilian infrastructure, no modification of organic matter, no gray goose scenarios. These aren't mindless destroyers, they're surgical instruments. The chamber door hissed open as Commander Torres entered, her expression grim. The Nexus fleet has regrouped. Long-range quantum sensors detect over 2,000 ships approaching from multiple vectors. They're not underestimating us this time. How long? Kai asked, already knowing he wouldn't like the answer. 72 hours at most. Earth Defense Command has authorized full deployment of Project Phoenix. It's time, Kai. The scientist's hands clenched at his sides. Alina, these nanites represent technological power beyond anything humanity has ever wielded. Yes, we've programmed them with ethical constraints, but once we release them into the wild... I know the risks, Alina interrupted softly. But we've seen the Nexus playbook now. They don't just conquer. They systematically eradicate any species they deem unworthy. How many civilizations have they destroyed? How many cultures have they erased because they didn't meet their arbitrary standards of advancement? The quantum display shifted, showing tactical projections of the approaching fleet. The Nexus had adapted their formation to counter human defense strategies, incorporating the lessons learned from their defeat at Mars. Their ships now generated overlapping quantum fields designed to disrupt the molecular disassembly weapons that had proved so effective in the first battle. They're learning, Sarah noted, studying the tactical display. But so are we. The nanites can adapt faster than any conventional weapon system. They'll find ways through those defenses. Kai moved to another console, bringing up the Project Phoenix command interface. There's something else you need to see. We've decoded more of the Nexus transmissions. Their empire, it's built on genocide. They'd been systematically eliminating what they call lesser species for thousands of years. Each extinction event carefully planned, methodically executed. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Nexus weren't just conquerors. They were exterminators, carrying out their mission with religious devotion. Earth wasn't just fighting for survival. They were facing an enemy that had perfected the art of genocide. Show me the deployment scenarios, Alina ordered, her voice steady. Kai brought up a series of holographic projections. The nanites are designed to work in stages. First wave targets military assets, ships, weapons, defense systems. They'll adapt to any countermeasures the Nexus develop, finding new ways to penetrate their defenses. Second wave secures critical infrastructure, ensuring we can contain the spread of the swarm. And they can't be used against civilian targets. It's hardwired into their base code. The nanites will shut down rather than harm non-combatants. We've built in every ethical constraint we could think of, tested them against thousands of scenarios. Elena studied the projections, her military training warring with her humanity. The Nexus showed us no such mercy. They would have happily wiped out our entire species. That's why we have to be better than them, Kai replied. We're not fighting just to survive. We're fighting to prove them wrong about humanity. To show that technological advancement doesn't have to come at the cost of our moral principles. The base's AI interrupted their discussion. Multiple quantum signatures detected entering the Kuiper belt. Nexus scout ships are probing our outer system defenses. They're coming faster than we anticipated, Alina muttered. How many production facilities do we have online? 7, Sarah answered, spread across the solar system, hidden in asteroid bases and underwater facilities on Europa. Current production capacity could create enough nanites to engage the entire Nexus fleet. Elena turned to Kai, her expression softening. I know this isn't what you wanted when you started this project. You're a scientist. You wanted to create something to help humanity explore the stars, not wage war. Sometimes the best way to preserve peace is to be prepared for war, Kai replied, entering the final authorization codes. But we do this our way, with precision, with control, with honor. We show the galaxy that humanity can win a war without losing its soul. Throughout the solar system, hidden facilities hummed to life. Production of the nanite swarms accelerated as humanity prepared for the coming battle. In orbit around Earth, the defense grid powered up, its quantum sensors tracking the approaching Nexus fleet. Project Phoenix was no longer just a research program. It was humanity's answer to an empire that thought technological superiority gave them the right to decide which species deserved to exist. The nanites would be their sword, but humanity's conscience would be their shield. As the first wave of Nexus ships entered the solar system, Dr. Chen gave the order to release the initial swarm. Trillions of microscopic machines, each one carrying humanity's hopes for survival and their determination to prove that advancement and ethics could coexist. The real test was about to begin. The Nexus homeworld hung in space like a twisted work of art, a planet encased in crystalline structures that reached into the upper atmosphere. Commander Elena Torres studied it through the quantum-cloaked viewport of the HSS Shadowfall, humanity's most advanced stealth vessel. The ship, barely larger than an ancient Earth submarine, represented the pinnacle of human engineering, a craft that could slit through space-time itself. Their orbital defenses are exactly where the intelligence suggested, Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez reported, her fingers dancing over the holographic controls. The quantum signatures match what we saw during the Mars attack. Elena nodded, reviewing the mission parameters one final time. While the main Nexus fleet engaged human forces across the solar system, a small team would strike at the heart of their empire. It was a strategy as old as warfare itself. While your enemy focuses on the obvious threat, slip a blade between their ribs. Dr. Chen, status of the infiltration package. Kai's voice came through the quantum comm, clear despite the vast distance between them. The modified nanites are ready. Once deployed, they'll interface with the Nexus crystalline technology. You'll have approximately 6 hours before their system discovers and adapts to the intrusion. The strike team consisted of just 5 members: Elena, Maya, and 3 Special Forces operators chosen for their expertise in quantum-enhanced combat. They wore advanced infiltration suits that mimicked the crystalline architecture of Nexus technology, allowing them to move through the alien structures undetected. Remember, Elena addressed her team, we're not here to destroy their civilization. Our mission is to access their central archives and uncover the truth about their campaign of extinction. The nanites will gather evidence of their atrocities while disrupting their military command structure. The Shadowfall slipped through the Nexus defense grid like a ghost, its quantum drives bending space-time to avoid detection. They emerged in the shadow of a massive crystalline spire that served as the Empire's central command center. Their architecture is organic, Maya observed as they prepared for insertion. The entire planet seems to pulse with energy. It's beautiful in a terrifying way. Beauty built on genocide, Elena replied grimly. Let's move. The team quantum shifted into the crystalline structure, their suits allowing them to phase through the seemingly solid walls. Inside, they found themselves in a lattice of corridors that seemed to defy conventional geometry. Energy pulses flowed through the transparent walls like blood through veins. As they moved deeper into the facility, their quantum sensors began collecting data. The walls themselves were data storage systems, containing the complete history of the Nexus Empire. What they found made their blood run cold. Elena, Maya's voice shook slightly as she processed the information. They've done this before. Not just a few times, hundreds of times. Every technological civilization they've encountered has been systematically evaluated, judged, and either subjugated or eliminated. Elena finished. Look at these records. Some species were destroyed simply for developing technology in ways the Nexus didn't approve of. Others for expanding too quickly or too slowly. They've appointed themselves the arbiters of all civilized life in this sector of the galaxy. The central chamber of the facility contained something none of their intelligence had prepared them for: a vast neural network, organic and crystalline technology, merged into something that defied comprehension. This was the true heart of the Nexus Empire, a collective consciousness that directed their entire civilization. "By the gods," one of the operators whispered, "they're not just an empire. They're a hive mind." Elena studied the neural interface, understanding dawning in her eyes. This is why they can't tolerate difference. They literally cannot comprehend other ways of existing. Any species that develops along a different path is seen as a threat to their perfect order. "Commander," Maya called out urgently, "I'm detecting quantum surges throughout the structure. They know we're here." "Upload complete," Elena announced, checking the status of their infiltration package. "The nanites have collected everything we need. Now for Phase 2. She removed a small crystalline cube from her suit, a device that looked identical to Nexus technology, but contained humanity's most sophisticated viral AI. Once connected to the neural network, it would do what the Nexus feared most: introduce chaos into their perfect order. "This won't destroy them," Elena explained as she interfaced the device with the neural network, "but it will force them to experience something they've never allowed themselves to feel: doubt, uncertainty, the recognition that their way isn't the only valid path of advancement." The chamber's crystals began to pulse with red energy as the facility's defenses activated, but it was too late. The viral AI was already spreading through their network, forcing the collective consciousness to confront the reality of their actions. For the first time in their history, the Nexus would have to face the consequences of their own arrogance. "Shadowfall, we need extraction," Elena commanded as crystal warriors began to materialize around them. "The package is delivered. Let's show them how humans make an exit." The team activated their quantum displacement drives, their forms beginning to shift out of phase with reality. The last thing Elena saw before they quantum jumped back to their ship was the central neural interface starting to flicker with new patterns, the first signs of chaos introducing itself to an empire built on ruthless order. As the Shadowfall slipped away from the Nexus homeworld, Elena sent a simple message back to Earth: "The heart is infected. Execute final phase." The real revolution was about to begin, not through destruction, but through the introduction of something the Nexus had never been able to handle: change. The quantum displays in Europa Base's command center showed chaos erupting across the Nexus Empire. Their once perfect formations began to splinter as the viral AI Commander Torres had planted spread through their neural network. Dr. Kai Chen watched the data streams with a mixture of awe and concern as the implications became clear. "Their entire civilization is built on absolute certainty," he explained to the gathered military leadership. "The viral AI isn't destroying them, it's forcing them to question. For a hive mind that's never known doubt, it's like introducing a new color to someone who's only seen in black and white." The main tactical display showed the Nexus fleet scattered across the solar system, their coordinated assault falling into disarray. Some ships continued their attack with mechanical precision, while others hung motionless in space, their crews paralyzed by their first experience of individual thought. "Now," Commander Torres ordered from her position on the Shadowfall, racing back from Nexus space, "release the final wave." Throughout the solar system, humanity's hidden facilities activated, the product of Project Phoenix, not the weapons-grade nanites they used before, but something far more sophisticated, poured forth. These nanites were designed not to destroy, but to communicate, to interface, to understand. The Nexus ships that still fought were met with overwhelming force, their weapons and defenses systematically neutralized by technology they'd dismissed humans as too primitive to possess. But the real battle wasn't being fought with weapons. It was being fought in the realm of consciousness itself. "We're receiving transmissions from individual Nexus ships," Maya reported, her voice filled with wonder. "Not collective communications. Individual captains and crews reaching out. They're asking questions. About us. About themselves." about everything they've been told to believe. In orbit around Earth, the defense grid hummed with power, ready to unleash devastating force if needed. But humanity had chosen a different path. Instead of extinction, they offered understanding. Instead of vengeance, they offered truth. The nanites infiltrated the Nexus ships, not to destroy but to share, carrying with them the full history of human civilization. Every triumph and failure, every war and peace, every different path and philosophy that humanity had explored in its long climb to the stars. Show them everything, Alina commanded. Our victories and our mistakes, our unity and our divisions. Show them what they've been destroying. The beauty of diversity, the strength that comes from difference. On the Nexus homeworld, the crystalline spires that had stood as monuments to perfect order began to pulse with new colors, new patterns. The collective consciousness that had directed their civilization for millennia fractured, not into chaos, but into something new. Something that could comprehend the existence of multiple truths, multiple paths of advancement. We're detecting quantum surges throughout their empire, Kai reported, studying the readings. Their technology is evolving, adapting not to fight, but to understand. The viral AI has done more than introduce doubt. It's teaching them how to learn from difference rather than fear it. The battle for the solar system ended not with a devastating final strike, but with a series of surrenders, each one individual, each one chosen rather than commanded. The Nexus fleet, once a perfect expression of unified will, became a collection of ships commanded by beings experiencing individual thought for the first time in their species' history. In the aftermath, as humanity's representatives met with newly individualized Nexus commanders, the true victory became clear. Earth had defeated an empire not by matching its capacity for destruction, but by proving its fundamental assumption wrong. That diversity was weakness, that uniformity was the only path to advancement. They called us primitives, Alina reflected, standing with Kai in Europa Base's observation dome, watching the surrendered Nexus ships being escorted to designated positions around Jupiter. They thought our divisions, our differences, our constant questioning and arguing and changing made us weak. They never understood that's exactly what made us strong. The Nexus civilization began a transformation unprecedented in its history. The species that had sought to eliminate all difference from the galaxy found itself learning to embrace it. Their technology, once dedicated to ensuring uniformity, turned toward understanding and preserving diversity. We could have destroyed them, Kai noted, checking the latest data from the nanite networks. We had the capability, the weapons, the tactical advantage. That's exactly why we couldn't do it, Alina replied. Because then we would have proved them right. That advanced civilizations must destroy anything they don't understand. Instead, we proved that true advancement means growing beyond the need for extinction. Throughout the galaxy, other civilizations that had hidden from the Nexus began to emerge. Species that had buried their technology, masked their development, lived in fear of being judged unworthy. All watched as humanity accomplished what had seemed impossible. They had defeated the Nexus not by destroying them, but by teaching them to grow. Earth's victory marked the beginning of a new era in galactic civilization. Humanity emerged not as conquerors, but as teachers, proof that technological advancement and ethical development could progress hand in hand. The species that the Nexus had dismissed as primitive became the guardians of diversity, protectors of the right of all civilizations to find their own path to the stars. The price of arrogance had been paid not in destruction, but in transformation. And in the vast darkness between the stars, countless young civilizations looked up at their skies without fear, knowing that humanity stood ready to defend their right to grow, to learn, and to become whatever they were meant to be.